Welcome to the Dental 18 podcast. I'm your host, Kiera Dent, and I had this crazy idea that maybe I could combine a doctor and a team member's perspective because let's face it, dentistry can be a challenging profession with those two perspectives. I've been a dental assistant, treatment coordinator, scheduler, filler, office manager, regional manager, practice owner, and I have a team of traveling consultants where we have traveled to over 165 different offices coaching teams. Yep, we don't just understand you, we are you. Our mission is to positively impact the world of dental, and I believe that this podcast is the greatest way I can help elevate teams, grow VIP experiences, reduce stress, and create A-teams. Welcome to the Dental 18 podcast. Hey everyone, welcome to the Dental 18 podcast. I'm Kiera, and today I'm going to be doing a crossover episode with Dr. Mark Costas. Mark and I got on the mics and we decided to talk about some of the strategies we're doing to work through our downtime, what other offices are doing, and just a mindset reset that Mark and I went through. I hope you guys love it. As always, the Dental team is here for you. Please be sure to reach out hello@thedentalteam.com, and I hope you enjoy this.
This episode today, and I'm going to mark this episode with a time code because things are changing so quickly. It is the 27th today. You're hearing my voice on the 27th of March. And the reason I'm doing that is because things are changing hourly, and anything that we are referencing might be totally different by tomorrow. But I want to make sure that you guys understand the context of which we are coming to you with this information. So today I had my great friend, traveling implementer, DSI black belt coach, just an all-around incredible resource, and one of my closest friends, Kiera Dent. How you doing today, Kiera?
Hey man, I'm good. It was good to hear about DSN. I will add my 2 cents on that. The DSN has been a huge resource, and Mark, I think you're such a great leader of it because what you provide in DSI and in DSN is there's some yucky communities out there that don't have uplifting positive of how can we be productive in this time of concern and change and challenge. And I think that DSN is one of the most positive groups that I've been a part of that I've seen with the best resources out there. People are so willing to share. And so I just wanted to piggyback on that for you of how great of a resource it is for people to get into the DSN. I've recommended it to several people, talked about on the Dental 18 podcast, because I think it's even not being free, it's such a low cost and so much value in there of really true high quality information in there. So I'm great. And I just wanted to double back on your DSN announcement for you as well.
Well, thank you. I really, really appreciate that. You know, it's funny, before any of this happened, you and I were thinking, gosh, this groundswell of what could potentially be a crisis was starting to kind of materialize in front of our eyes. You and I were still traveling. We traveled up until, 2 days before most of the travel bans and, the mandates were starting to come out about not opening your dental offices to the public, et cetera. And you and I were talking about, it might be time to stop sending the consultants out into offices to travel. You and I had a long conversation about that, and we were thinking about strategies for what we could do to keep them busy, et cetera. And lo and behold, like literally 4 days later, it happened so fast. It was over a long weekend.
Yep.
Everything hit the fan, right? So people were starting to have to decide whether or not they were going to lay people off, if they were going to furlough people, if they're going to wait past April 2nd or pull the trigger before April 2nd, which was when the legislation is supposedly going to kick off. Which could be potentially devastating to a lot of small business owners, not just dentists, if we fall under those guidelines. So a lot has happened in a very, very short period of time, Kiera, because we've been keeping our eye on this from the very beginning. And so how has it affected your life? I know you are, I know you are kind of working out of your home office, and you're not traveling right now, which is a huge part of what you do. So how are you handling things, and what are you up to?
Yes, it is. Our whole business has changed in the blink of an eye. I remember waking up that Monday morning when I feel like everything trickled, and I had coaching calls starting at 6 a.m. with my normal clients, and it was, let's strategize about this. And literally by 2 p.m. that day, everything I had coached on at 6 a.m. was completely different by 2 p.m. And I was like, whoa, we're in for a quick tidal wave that's going to just ripple for quite a while. So it's it's been I think I'm on the same page as a lot of other people. I've heard from so many people that they're having a hard time getting into a routine. They're like, I just don't feel productive. I don't feel like I'm in a rhythm. And I'm like, pause. You're not in a rhythm. This is new, uncharted territory for you. So just have a little bit of grace and try to get into that routine and that rhythm of working from home and seeing that this is a new normal. This is a new opportunity. It's a new mindset reset. And it's a way for you to, gosh, like I think one of the best things I heard, I don't remember who I was talking to, but they said, now is the time. If there are systems you wanted to put in place in your practice, or there were team members you wanted to have a different path on, well, guess what? It was just gifted to you, and you didn't even have to be the bad guy or anything. It's now an opportunity for you to change and pivot. And that's what we're doing over here. So many of the projects I've wanted to do for so long, well, high five. It's just now me playing the game with my own mind and the willpower to do it from home. But I was just gifted a lot of time. So I think it's definitely weird. It's weird to be at my house. I've already repainted the entire office and I'm going to redecorate it. So I have a new background for doing a bunch of videos from home. And like,
Yeah.
I feel like a caged animal sometimes roaming at home. But
Yeah.
I've tried to find ways with my team. We do via Zoom. We'd already done a lot of this remote virtual because that's what our company is. I have never ever worked in a place where my whole team has ever been together in one place. It's never been the business I've run. And so that was not a new normal for us. And I'm super grateful. And it's been fun to share those tips that we've learned along the way. It's been fun to watch the field of dentistry convert to teledentistry and to see the creative, innovative ways that are coming out. To me, that's what I feel is the most exciting and inspiring of what's happening today. It is these innovative ideas. Mark, you and I have even changed in our approach and the things we do to a completely different, I mean, the people we were a couple of days ago talking to who we are today are very different and it's changing so quickly. I also think that it's an exciting time and I'm trying hard not to think like, well, when it gets back to normal, I'm like, no, this is my new normal. This is what life is going to evolve into. And what does this challenge make possible for me today that I want to turn into or I want to become, because this was something that was just gifted to us unexpectedly. And there is a lot of fear. I also think there can be a lot of excitement in it as well of really becoming who you've always wanted to be in a moment that you didn't decide to have, but it was just given to you.
Oh, so much wisdom in all of that. I love that example that you gave of somebody telling you that this is a great time. I mean, this is a good opportunity to do some things that kind of we've had shelved for a long period of time. I just pulled this up. This is a text I got this morning, and this is from somebody that has the initials of CC. You know who she is, but I didn't get her permission to air this today. And she's just somebody that has been just a very, very special person to me. She's one of our she's a spouse of one of our awesome members, and she just from time to time just drops me these love bombs that are just incredible. They melt my heart, but they make me feel better. They give me fuel to carry on during challenging times. And she says this to me. She says, "Hi, Mark. How are you guys? How are you doing? We are completely shut down now. It was heartbreaking Monday to have to lay everyone off. Rough day. We have the teledentistry thing starting in a few days. We are super grateful for this forced time home. Wow, what a blessing in the midst of all this crazy. Family meals, working on things together, laughing and joking. Adult kids have come back home for a few weeks. I will never forget this precious gift of time given to us. 2 weeks ago, I couldn't have paid $1 million to get it, and desperately would have had it if it was would have taken it if it was available. And today, it's just here, right now, forever grateful. And I have no doubt when this is over, we will all walk out, survey the damage, rebuild fast and furious. We have weathered many storms alone. It's nice not to be alone in this one." So that feels so good.
That does.
It feels amazing, and what an incredible perspective that she's taken. Right? She's a person that has a lot of kids. I don't want to tell how many because that would give it away. But she has a lot of kids, and the fact that she can't remember the last time that they've all been in one place together for that period of time, and she's just loving it. It melts my heart. It makes me feel so great that somebody is taking the time to separate themselves from all this stress and say, here is something that's really, really positive. We're all safe. We're all healthy, and we're getting this unbelievable gift of time with one another that we may never get again.
Totally.
Really
I love
cool.
it. And I actually want to dive on that, since I didn't know who it was when you first said it. And then I was like, oh, I know who you're talking about. And to just add a little bit of backstory, I actually had done a coaching call with this same person. I did it on March 10th. I was headed to a doctor's appointment. So that's been just over 2 weeks from today. And we actually had a really long, it was about an hour and a half coaching. I hadn't talked to her in a while, and she had just lost some Paramount team members in their practice. And she's like, Kiera, I'm so discouraged because I had planned to take April and May off with my daughter. My daughter is 5. She's about to be going to school. I've been working since she was a baby. I have been planning for this, and now I just lost these key team players. There's no way I'm going to be able to do it. And I was like, whoa. Like, let's come up with a plan. You still need to spend time with your daughter. And so we actually constructed this plan out of thin air of how she was going to be able to not have as much time as she thought she was going to have, but she was actually going to have time with her daughter. She got her whole team on board. And what's really interesting is now knowing what it is and who sent this to you, life gifts us so many of these opportunities, but they don't always come packaged in the way we could have ever imagined. And for her, she's like, there's no way I can take this time off with my daughter. And I'm like, now guess what? You have this time with your whole family, time you didn't even expect to have. And it is that spin of a mindset. And how cool is it that 2 weeks ago, she didn't see how this would even be possible. And now because of a forced closure, everything that she had wanted, even though it wasn't tied in the perfect packages she had imagined it would be, still was able to be delivered in a different way. And I love that. And that's what I think right now has been my mantra of, this is a gift of time. Tiffany and I were talking the other day, and she's like, how many offices do you know, Kiera, that have said, I wish I could just have a week off with no patients. I wish I could have 2 weeks off with no patients and think of everything I could get done. Well, guess what? We were just given that. But so many people have just gotten stuck in this like, oh my gosh, the world is ending. And I'm like, you have begged for this for years. Don't let this go to waste. Like, who are you going to be at the end of this? And are you going to look back and be like, dang it, I got nothing done because I was so stressed out? Or are you going to be like, holy, this is what we got done? And yeah, there are hard days, there are hard decisions. And I think that this is defining moments for a lot of people, of leadership, of growth, for team members, for doctors, for owners. And I really love watching everybody come together, share best ideas, give back in a way that we haven't ever done in the past, and to just really rebuild all of us as people, as a profession, and see what comes out of it. I think there's actually going to be some really incredible things that come from this. There already have been. I mean, teledentistry, who was billing out for teledentistry exams before this? Like maybe 1% of the dental population, and now it's a thing. And I think it's awesome.
Yeah, could not agree more. And, when you look at what we do, that there's so much face-to-face, one-on-one interaction, but there's totally 100% ways that we could do this virtually. Mm-hmm. So we still have the ability to stay in touch and have the ability to stay connected with one another. Totally possible. And our clients are in all 50 states. They're all over the country. So we have the ability to communicate well with them anyway. We know how to do that, but we just have to kind of, pivot. We have to be able to roll with the punches and do the best we can. This thing will, everybody, it sounds so cliche, but this will pass. It's just going to be a matter of how well prepared you are when things start to roll again. Yes. If you caught back on your heels because you weren't proactively thinking during this time about what that was going to look like, what is the worst case scenario, and how can I prepare for that? How are we going to hit the ground running and not be flat, or justify being able to hire back all of my team members? All of those things require brainstorming and an actual plan. And that's what we already started doing with a lot of our high-level clients, is really developing that plan already. What is your marketing message going to sound like, right? Right now, nobody wants to hear a marketing message. Nope. We don't want to appear opportunistic. We don't want to appear greedy, that we're trying to take advantage of this horrible situation. So most people that I know have pulled the plug on marketing almost completely. They're saying something about, we're seeing emergencies, and the best thing to do really for the planet right now is for everybody to minimize their patient exposure. It's better for the patients, better for their communities, is better for overall humanity. But after that's done, it's not too early to start thinking about what the message is going to be once we're on the other side of all of this.
Absolutely. And that's something, I feel like this is where we get to test our abilities of who we are as people, as leaders, as as people moving forward, because we can either sit and have this time, or we can proactively plan for what's happening. And it's hard. It's hard for me to mentally switch gears. There are times when I want to just pull the covers up and not get out of bed. That is honestly who I was on Monday. I'm like, forget this, shut the computer. I don't want to deal with this. And then it's thinking of, okay, what do I need to be doing? And I put on my assistant hat. Being an assistant for years, my job is to be 75 steps ahead of you, Mark, as the doctor. I am literally supposed to be thinking, what does Mark need next? How am I going to make this easier for him? What does he need? And how am I going to make the patient experience the best? I think you can spin that for all of us and become assistants right now. What will your patients need when this is all over? They're probably not going to be able to come back to the office as easily. Maybe they will, but maybe it's time to have evening hours or teledentistry or virtual appointments, those types of things. And there was something that I listened to today, and they said to kind of come up with a 30, 60, 90-day plan for 3 different areas. And that was our cash flow plan, our business strategy plan, and our messaging plan or your marketing plan. And I really loved that because it made it simple for me to think, okay, what is my 30, 60, 90? What's my cash flow plan immediately? But also what's it going to look like in the next coming weeks? What's my business strategy? How am I going to make money in the next 30, 60, 90 days? Or what am I going to do as a business to make my business actually work? What does it need to be? And you might not know the answers today, but this is where you get to spin and you get to start thinking, what is that? And creating a plan. Because Mark, you and I have found that we coach so often and we give people a plan. I believe a plan gives hope, it gives direction, and it gives certainty in uncertainty. Even if that plan does not go as follows, which most of the time they don't, it at least gives you a direction to follow, something to get started and to motivate you to at least have a way to move. And then you can start to pivot and navigate along that. But I really loved those 3 buckets of the cash flow, the business strategy, and your messaging plan over the next 30, 60, 90 days. And that then starts to give you a forward thinking. Mark, I think one thing you and I do really, really, really well is help clients not just look at today, but who are they going to be in the next 30, 60, 90 year, 2 years, 3 years, and start planning for that, because wherever we focus, that's where our energy is going to go. And that's who we'll ultimately become.
Yeah. Love it. Really, really, really strong stuff. So I want to grab onto something that you started that last bit with, and that is maintaining kind of your routine. And a lot of people not wanting to kind of be in a routine for at least the first couple of days. But I really honestly do believe that you have to get back to some sort of routine, or you're going to find yourself at 3:00 every single day, still in your pajamas, not having taken a shower, and really feeling bad about yourself, and slipping into that negativity if you're watching too much television, if you're watching the 24-hour news cycle, and just really getting sucked into the spiral that, the mainstream media is trying to suck you into. So what things have you done in this short week that we've been out already to try to maintain your schedule? I'm interested to know, and I'll share a little bit after you're done.
Sure. I think I really do feel, Mark, you and I are blessed with an advantage because we work from home. Mark, you and I have been in business. We've been business partners for, I think, 3 years now, and we have never once lived in the same state together. We have always done everything virtual. We've always done everything remote. So I do feel we have a little bit of a leg up in that. But what I will say is I learned from you, Mark, as a mentor, from other mentors, of get up and get dressed every single day. And sometimes it's a struggle, and sometimes I just want to stay in leggings all day. You feel terrible. I'm not as good on the podcast. I'm not as good. I don't present as well as I would if I was actually dressed. There are days when I'll actually wear business clothes in my house, as silly as that sounds, because I'm preparing for a podcast or a webinar or something, because it actually resets. It flips your mind.
It flips a switch.
It does.
Flips a switch, right? Like I go from at-home dad or lounging weekend dude to I'm showered, I shave, I put gel in my hair, and I put like a pressed shirt on, even if I'm at home, if I'm going to be on a podcast, just because it flips that switch in my head. Just like, when I used to play football, when we put, instead of our practice uniforms, when you put the actual jersey on, it just flips the switch in your head and you become a different person. It's a different persona. You become your alter ego or your other personality. I have a work personality and a work persona, and somebody that is serving a certain purpose. And then I have one that's at home. And if I'm at home and I put that uniform on, I put that jersey on and I switch that switch in my head, I can be just as effective no matter where I am. If it's in my guest house at home, if it's in my basement, if it's actually doing a podcast in my gym, which I do all the time, I have actually switched that, flipped that switch, and I become that persona. For me, it's so important. I cannot take my own self seriously if I'm not, if I don't wear the uniform.
I completely agree. And so that is something that works. And then I also mark the 4 futures like we talk about. And that's going to be your meditation every single day, your workout every single day, making sure you're doing something of meaning, your journaling, and then also checking your bank accounts and whatnot. And I do that almost every single day. There are days when I'm like, forget it. I just don't want to do it. I just want to lay in bed and look on Instagram. And I feel like crap on those days. I'm not productive. I don't have it. And I was thinking about something with all of our clients, and I'm like, don't forget what got you to your successful state before all this happened. Don't let go of that person who got you there, because that person is going to push you through this as well. So don't let go of those rituals and those routines and those standards that you had for yourself before, because that's going to keep moving you forward. I will say I have stress eaten. Mark, never in my life have I stress eaten. I know you probably don't believe that, but I have never done it. I didn't even know that this was a thing. No joke. Being at home, like the stress of all the clients calling, I went through, this is a confession. I'm going to confess and you're going to make fun of me and it's going to be great. So I ate an entire bag by myself. Jason didn't eat one of them, of those Reese's eggs that are like my favorite thing. I love Reese's eggs. So that was like on 1.5 days. I ate all of that. Another day, yesterday, Jason made these amazing,
sugar, girl.
It is. Don't worry. It's going to get worse. He made a batch of no-bake cookies and put peanut butter in them. Apparently I have a theme of peanut butter and chocolate going together. I freaking stress ate 6 of those cookies yesterday while I was on coaching calls, talking to clients, just stressed out of my mind for them. And I was like, Kiera, you got to stop this. Like, these are unhealthy choices. And so for me, it was like, put those away, make sure that I'm not just binge eating or doing things that are just not that's out of the ordinary for me. And so it's like, have a bottle of water, make sure I eat a healthy breakfast, make sure I listen to a motivating podcast, make sure I work out. Those are things that got me to where I am today. And I need to keep up with that same routine. And it's tricky. But I think that it's having that self-discipline within yourself of who do you want to be. And something else I coached a lot of people on yesterday, I had a lot of moms, a lot of doctors who are not used to having kids at home. They don't have anywhere to go. So they're trying to battle this like kid, parent, guilt, all this zone. And I said, at night, come up with 1 or 2 or 3 things that you want to accomplish the next day, and then get up before your kiddos get up and get at least 1 or 2 of those done. So if you have a plan the night before of what you want to accomplish the next day, it can really help you at least have some directed time, and then you're not going to be battling that guilt and that stress. And for me, I've also made 4 buckets. So I have a personal bucket, a business bucket, a future business bucket, and then systems. So those are my 4 buckets, and I've written down things that I want to accomplish in each of those while I have this time off, because that then gives me a focus and a direction of what do I actually want to get done. And instead of me trying to come up with these ideas, it's already written on my whiteboard. I can add to it as I go throughout my day. And that way I actually start checking these things off so I can see progress, because I believe when we have progress, that equals happiness. And I'm able to keep moving myself forward with those little victories, those little wins every single day. So that's me. Mark, I know you're a rock star at routine, so I think you should also share, because I think you have a lot of value in addition to what I've said.
Thank you so much. Those are really good gems. I don't think there's any like magic sauce here at all. It's difficult when we're at home, and I have to say, I've been coming into the office every single day, and Leslie's there with the 3 boys and the 2 dogs, and she's trying to fight the good fight. But I've had so many things to do as far as creating what I need to create as far as the cash flow situation. We're deferring all of our loans, and we have many different banks that we work with. So we've been dealing with all of them. We've been having a lot of meetings there. Been meeting a lot with our black belt coaches and some of our higher level mastermind member clients. So I've still had a relatively full day, but the clinical part of my life is upside down. Like, it's crazy. Like, seeing just emergencies all day long, it's really hard to get into a routine. It's like you're seeing somebody sometimes for the very first time, because I'm taking call for all the offices, and it's very, very difficult to find your routine. But what I'm doing here, and who knows how long this is going to last. It could be 2, 4, 6, 9, 12 weeks. Who knows? Nobody does know, I don't think, for sure. But I'm trying to maintain that discipline in the routine the same as usual. So I'm still getting up, really, really early, 4:30, 4:45 every single day, still doing my meditation as if nothing else was going on. Still hitting my normal morning routine, still doing my meditation first thing in the morning. I'm journaling, hitting the gym, still taking a cold shower, and I am still going at a minimum. It's harder now, but a minimum of 12 hours, preferably 16 hours for a fast before I eat my first meal, from last meal to first meal. And that's helped a lot. And, being at home for more hours and having junk food all over the place is really, really, as you alluded to, it's really hard to avoid that at home. So I've just kind of put some parameters in place. I'm trying not to snack in between meals and stuff like that, but trying to maintain all of that, trying to stay as hydrated as possible, trying to avoid, processed foods as I usually do. And really just having the 4 features as my framework. So, as you alluded to, mind, meaning, muscle, and money, I try to check off something in each of those quadrants every single day. And if I can get that done, preferably before I even go into the office, or preferably before even the rest of my family wakes up, then I know that I'm going to have a productive day. If I do nothing else, I know that I at least did the bare minimum in my 4 quadrants. So I really, really have been leaning on that framework more than anything else, and still trying to maintain that discipline. It's funny, when I go on vacation, Jared, sometimes it's the most stressful time for me because I get out of my routine and I yearn for that kind of that structure. I really do. And by the 3rd day, I'm like, okay, I have to get up early tomorrow. Nobody even notices because they're on vacation, they're sleeping in anyway. So I have to get up early, and I go for a run if there's no gym. And I still do my meditation on a beach chair or a lawn chair, no matter where I am. And once I do that, I enjoy the vacation so much more. And people are like, why don't you just relax? Why don't you just shut it off, dude? It's like, because that's what keeps me going. That's the only thing that helps me maintain my sanity.
Well, I don't think it's a shutting off. That's who you are. And so when you go on vacation, it's like putting on this alter person that you aren't every day. And so it feels out of rhythm, out of sync. It's not who you are. Totally. So you can't shut it off when it becomes part of you. And that's something where I'm like, I'm just at home. I don't have to do my routine. I'm like, but that routine is you. And when it is you, it feels out of sync. And when you do it, it helps you realize that life still is life and things are still normal in a lot of ways. And these are things you do have control over.
Totally. That's part about getting dressed too, right? I saw you post that to our group this morning. You're like, get up and get dressed. Even if you're staying at home all day, get dressed, people.
I did. I said that.
Shave your face.
Don't let yourself go. Mark, I do have a question though, because this is something I'm genuinely interested in. I feel there's so many projects to do. You and I are mass creators. We love to create content. We love to build things. There's also the urgent things right now that do need to get taken care of. How are you prioritizing the list? And because I'm finding that I've been home for so many days and I still have almost the exact same list of content creation I want to get done. And I'm like, what the heck am I doing with all my day? I know I'm being productive, but how are you prioritizing or getting some of those things done? Or is that me just trying to put big projects on and not realizing that there's a time and a place for everything?
Yeah, I love that. This is such a good question because I feel like in the beginning of the week, I felt like I was letting myself down already because, Ashley Evans, who used to be my COO, is now doing special projects for me. She's in charge of different large projects that we've kind of outsourced her. We've used her as an outsourced company as a project manager for a bunch of huge projects that I'm doing. One of them happens to be a book that I'm writing and a new podcast that I'm launching. So I have a bunch of stuff, including, a lot of writing that needs to be done, a lot of projects that are 75% done that need to be finished. And, when this was all happening on Sunday, she just texted me and she's like, hey, great news. You're going to find yourself with a lot of extra time. Here, just to remind you, here are the things that we have as far as open loops on this particular project. And I was like, yes, I'm going to get so much stuff done. It's going to be great. I'm going to have super productive time. But because of all the stuff that's happening, I'm kind of in reaction mode right now, right? Mm-hmm. So I've been doing a lot of these live webinars to keep people abreast of all the HR changes and these financial relief packages that are coming through and 911 calls Basically, one day I had 391 texts from people. So like I've been a little bit in reactive mode. So you're right. I think you have to give yourself a little bit of grace depending on the season that we are in right now. I have a lot of things on my to-do list and my checklist as well. A lot of open loops, as we call them, that need to be closed. But right now, what's really important is that I support people, that I put really good quality resources, hook people up that need certain things. There's certain people that really need an attorney right now. There's certain people that really need an expert CPA right now. There's certain people that really need my help with strategies and getting in touch with banks and deferring their loan payments, et cetera. So those are the things that I'm spending my time doing right now. And you're right, my to-do list outside of this quote unquote crisis has not moved at all, but I still feel good and positive about the things that I've been doing.
And I wanted to hear that from you, and I wanted your listeners to hear that, because I think so often we judge ourselves on other people's scales. We see like, well, Mark Costas gets so much done. I mean, I didn't even know you were doing another podcast, so that was news to me. And it's like, whoa, like all the things they're doing. But to be able to also hear that your creative content hasn't moved this week either. You've been in reaction mode. I've been the same way. And I think it's important for people to realize, like, give yourself grace and space for this time and season you're in. Don't let that be an excuse. Make sure you are focusing on the most important things. Have your list of projects. Mark, I know as soon as you get free time and as soon as I get free time, we know exactly what to go into. I also know I've given myself some space. Like there are times when I'm done and I've just gone through coaching calls for the last 8 hours. And yes, I have 2 more hours to go and I'm exhausted. I'm mentally exhausted from all the decisions I've had to make. The building content's not my jam right there. So I have a smaller list of things that maybe aren't as productive, or they're maybe not getting as much done. And that's okay. And that's why I really wanted to hear that, because I think right now we all just need to give ourselves a little bit of grace, have our projects there, make sure we're trying to at least go forward, do a few things to progress that ball, but making sure that we're really taking care of the most important things, the things that really matter most, because at the end of it, we're going to look back and remember the things that we did that mattered the most, that made the biggest difference for people in our lives versus all the projects we got done. I still think get projects done, but making sure we also give ourselves grace that we're doing the best we can during this time.
For sure. And I'm going to end this podcast with the cheesiest analogy of all time that's so overused in the personal development space. And that is the analogy that if you are traveling with a child or with an elderly person or with anybody else, and the airplane is under some distress and the air masks drop down, you're always instructed to put on your own air mask first before you put on anybody else's, because you're really useless if you're passed out without oxygen and trying to help somebody else. So self-care is so important right now, and it's not being selfish, because right now we are holding the burden. I had to lay off 45 people on Friday, and I held that as a burden, and it took the wind out of me, and it was very a difficult thing to do, one of the hardest things I've ever had to do, and I'm still reeling from that. But if you don't take care of yourself, if you're not providing good fuel and good sleep and good hydration, and you're filling your mind with trash with the 24-hour news cycle, if you're putting garbage into your body for fuel, if you're not working out and you're not taking time to self-reflect and have some sort of a meditative practice, you're not going to be helpful to anybody else, and you're not going to be equipped to deal with the stress that we're bound to be facing over the next, month or so. So it's really important, I'm going to go back to that cheesy analogy, take care of yourself first before you try to help anybody else. And if you're not in a good place mentally or physically, you're going to be useless to everybody else around you.
Absolutely. And I love that, because we travel so much. We hear that announcement all the time, and it is so true. If you don't take care of you, you don't have anything in your bucket. And Mark, as coaches, you and I have done this for so long. I know I have to fill my well in order for me to give back to all the people. I can read all the other people's stuff, but I've got to make sure. And that's something I'll talk to you, Mark. I'll talk to other mentors, people that inspire me, that lift me up, that get me jazzed, motivated, because then my well is full and I can give back to so many more people. So making sure you're filling your mind with really good, positive things as well, reading good books, listening to great podcasts, things like that keep you going in the direction you actually want to go, I think is some of the best self-care we can give ourselves. Like where you focus is where you're going to end up. So let's focus on where we actually want to be.
I love it. Hey, are you good to record another one of these great episodes sometime next week, and we can check in?
Absolutely, Mark. I don't know if you know, but my schedule has tentatively been canceled up until who knows when. So I got a lot more time on my hands. So
I know. I was traveling after the summit, which is the day that you guys are listening to my voice was supposed to be the day of the summit.
So sad.
Oh gosh. Anyway,
we had such a good summit planned. It was going to be so epic. I was so excited for it. It's fine. We're going to have a really great one in the summer. We're going to have a beach party.
People have been so amazing. People have been like, yeah, just hold on to the ticket stuff and just, credit me to the next one. People have been so amazing. 750 people were signed up, and we were still a month out, Kiera.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, I don't even remember what
you
I
were
was
talking.
saying.
You were going to be traveling after Summit.
Oh yeah, after Summit, the week after I was on a plane. The week after that, I was on a plane 6 weeks straight after the Summit. Mm-hmm. I was going to be in different cities. So all of my schedule has completely cleared for the month of April and May.
Mm-hmm.
And Leslie's like, this is like the best gift ever. You're like going to be home. Because I'm usually useless for 2 weeks before the summit because we're like completely like entrenched in last minute things to get it going. So she doesn't see me for 2 weeks before the summit. And then somehow my travel schedule got out of control. So 6 weeks after the summit, every single weekend I was going to be gone. And now I'm just going to be home.
Yeah, we're home. I know.
Awesome.
It feels
awesome.
like
I'm stoked.
It's so good. I told Jason, I'm like, Jace, I haven't seen you this much because we went to Antarctica before all this shook out too. So I had.
No, you guys got home just in the nick of time. Oh my God.
Can you imagine? I've been stuck on a boat.
What if you were stuck on a tiny boat outside of Antarctica for 2 months?
I thought of this and I'm like, that would have been downright terrifying. There was no internet out there. There was no phones. I would have been sitting in the middle of the ocean smelling penguin poop, which was cool for like a hot minute, and then it wasn't cool. So that was fun. But like, no, I can't imagine. But I was like, Jason, I haven't seen you this many days consecutively for I don't even know how long. We got so much to the point of like stir crazy in our house that this was my most clever idea I've done so far. Like, this is where I'm proud. My most ingenious moment was we were like, you know what? We're on this like self-isolation. We've got a social distancing. So we found out in my car, if we put our back seats down, we actually went camping in my car. We didn't take a tent. We didn't get out of the car. We just put sleeping bags. We put our feet into the trunk, tipped the seats down. It was actually pretty level and flat. We had our sleeping bags. We had MREs because we were supposed to go to have a soup with Tiffany. And so we literally took a bottled water, a little camp stove. We drove all over the Oregon coast. It was absolutely gorgeous. We went camping in the redwood forest in our car, didn't even get a camp out. And I was like, this is the most ingenious thing I've ever done. There was no dirt. There was no mess. It was actual camping outside. So I realized I've seen Jason for a lot longer than I've seen him in probably the last 5 years. So it's kind of surreal and kind of awesome. And we'll just see what happens. But yes, likewise, my April was packed. I literally was flying from the summit to almost 3 weeks straight of travel. And I'm like, I'm home. So Mark, yes, we can podcast anytime you want. We both have a lot more time than we planned.
Okay, cool. So next week, I'm going to hope to do that. Next week, we'll check in with you. And I would love to hear more stories about, people that you're coaching this week. I have a ton of calls this week. We should do the things that we're learning, things that we're coaching them on, and things that practices are doing right now. Because I think that it's helpful to hear not what people are wishing to do, but what they're actually doing. Might be a really fun podcast for us to do. Totally.
Cool.
Well, I appreciate you as always, Kiera. Enjoy Jason. Give him a high five for me. Give him a hug for me. And I thank you again for taking the time to speak with us in the audience today.
Absolutely. And do the same with your family. Your family is so great. So enjoy that time, Mark. Who knows when we'll get this back. So live it up.
Exactly. All right, ladies and gentlemen, Kiera Dent.
And that wraps it up for another episode of the Dental 18 podcast. Thank you so much for listening, and we'll talk to you next time.